Hi there, it's Jeremy again. Trying out a new space for my recordings. Probably shouldn't have done the others from work, but you gotta do what you gotta do some days. Everybody deserves a break, even at work, right? So, this has been a pretty full week. And I haven't come across a thought that I really wanted to share with myself lately. But I did take note of one a little while back that really struck me. So I'm glad to be able to get back to it, to explore it a little bit. I am a big fan of learning. Always have been. I've liked reading, loved school. And Scouts, years back, started a program, Learning for Life, where they advocated that, just because you're done in school doesn't mean you have to stop learning. That there's plenty of things to learn. And me, I've found that I can forget stuff really easy. Even before having to worry about anything like Alzheimer's, I recognize that if I don't use a piece of information or a skill that I've learned with my hands, I'll lose it. I try to teach this to my Scouts. So I think it's important to learn, to keep your mind open. I hope I can do that. Jeremy, keep your mind open. Keep learning. And an important reason to keep learning is that life is change. Now, these days, that's more apparent than ever. Things are changing around us constantly. New technologies, new tools. They're coming at us left and right. It's crazy. It's crazy how fast life is changing. On the other hand, in other times, life was changing just as fast, but it wasn't the technology that was changing. It was the people and the things around us. There were so many things that would kill you. It was ridiculous. There's an old computer game, the Oregon Trail, where every 5 minutes you could die from dysentery. Life is change. And because I recognize that fact, I try to change. I'm trying to learn things all the time. And sometimes I get stuck being a little too excited about something that I've learned. Sometimes I try to make someone else change. That's not great. Yeah, encourage everybody to learn. Do that. Do that. But don't try to make people change. Which brings me to the point that really struck me the other day. I was listening to Lewis Howes' podcast, and he had Dr. Phil McGraw on as his guest. I'm not a big fan of Dr. Phil. That being said, I did enjoy that interview. Now, Lewis Howes is a regular in my feed, but I'm not a huge fan. Occasionally, I consider unsubscribing from him because his perspective is just so far from mine. But he asks really good questions occasionally. So I'm still listening, Lewis. And I was listening to Dr. Phil. And one of the points that Phil made, Dr. McGraw, I should say, that was way too familiar. Sorry, Mr. Dr. McGraw. Mr. Dr. McGraw. One of the points he made was about authenticity. And that's a loaded word these days. It's way overused. But it really was about authenticity. The point he was making was that a person has to be themselves. But we, people, will oftentimes pretend to be something else, to be something inauthentic, something that's not real. But when we do that, it can't last. It might last for a while, but the longer it lasts, the greater the repercussions. And the analogy he used was a beach ball in a pool. You can get a beach ball to stay underwater. It can be done. Oof, it's work, though. The further down you go, the further away from where that beach ball is supposed to be, who that beach ball is supposed to be, the more effort it requires to keep it there. And keeping it underwater takes a lot of work, a lot of fine adjustments, a lot of whoop. There it goes, exploding out of the water. So remember, don't make people change. Encourage the change. Encourage learning. Lead by example. Learn. To encourage others to learn, but don't try to make people change. Because it's really just going to make a mess. And the longer that goes on and the further away from their truth that they get, the more likely it is that that's going to splash back on you. So, I hope this thought comes in handy someday. I really did appreciate it, Lewis and Dr. Phil. I don't think it's a huge issue for me, but hopefully it never will be. So, until next time, take care of each other and take care of yourself.